Decades ago, two simple words lit up a screen and ignited a revolution. Hello World marked the birth of the digital age, an era that reshaped how we live, work, and play. Today, we stand at the precipice of something just as transformative and even more profound. Artificial intelligence is here, and it's sending humanity to an incredible, prosperous future. But this transformative technology depends on concrete, copper, and steel. More than anything, the AI revolution depends on power. For this future, we need power that is reliable, scalable, and clean. America needs nuclear power. At the center of the new wave is Aalo Atomics, building extra modular reactors engineered for data centers and AI. But Aalo cannot create this incredible future by itself. It takes a village. We call ours the Aaloverse. 127 companies, 35 states, and 6 countries. Hundreds of thousands of people contributing to the greatest industrial wave of our time. There's no better place to build a nuclear economy than here in Texas. And there's no better time than right now. The power to drive civilization forward starts here, with partners trusting each other, with builders working together, standing with Aalo to usher in the second atomic age. Welcome to the Aaloverse.
Good morning. Hello, Aaloverse. I'm Stu Aaron, and I'm your MC this morning, and also Aalo's head of product and marketing. I'd like to welcome you all to the very first Aaloverse Summit. In the audience today, we've got a really good cross-section. We've got vendors, partners, and suppliers. We've got representatives of state and federal government, customers, investors, and NGOs. We've got members of the media, employees, and friends. And we're excited that each and every one of you could join us here on this special day because you're all important and play a very vital role in what we're doing. Ignore that. Altogether, we're doing something incredibly special. And today we have an exciting show for you. The show will take about 75 minutes. We've got some keynotes from Matt and Yasir, our co-founders. We'll have some exciting remarks from Jared Schaefer, the director of the Texas Advanced Nuclear Energy Office, and from David Wright, chairman of the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. We've got an esteemed panel, and of course, we'll be ending with a big reveal. I won't say much more on that at this moment. At the end of the event, we've got lunch for you. Don't forget to grab your Aaloverse gift bags on the way out. And of course, everything you do while you're in the tent and while you're here at Aalo, please be safety-minded. Get up, get down carefully, think of each other, etc. Now let's get on to the real meat of the show. And so without any further ado, I'd like to invite up to the stage our co-founder and CEO, and one of nuclear's 40 under 40, Matt Loszak.
All right. Are you all excited? Yes. So thank you all so much for coming here today. We've got an amazing show, and the team has been working insanely hard for the past 9 months. Many of you may have come to our last event in April, and this is the fruit of all our labor from the past 9 months. So we're very excited to show you what we've been up to. So at a high level, there's never been a better time to be building in nuclear. I think it's really important to reflect on this. This is just a record good time to be in nuclear. There are record levels of support from the public. It's crazy to think that 3 or 4 years ago, we were talking about shutting down gigawatt-scale nuclear plants. And now the idea of that seems insane. The government has been offering unprecedented levels of support. So we saw 4 major executive orders from the Trump administration, which have been a massive help to the whole industry, but almost especially to small vendors who are trying to usher in new technology and nuclear. This is a stock chart from an unnamed competitor, but investors are putting a lot of capital into nuclear as well, which is a great vote of confidence behind what we're doing. And we'll actually come back to that chart, so put a pin in that. And probably most importantly, there's a record level of support from the right customer. So AI data center demand, as we all know, is insane. Usually in the past 6 months, I've been saying there's 40 gigawatts of demand in the next 5 years in the US alone. Forecasts have now been updated to close to 100. So to put that into perspective, in this country alone, in the next 5 years, we are creating an amount of power that's equivalent to 100 cities. And the last time we created 100 cities worth of power in a 5-year period was never. So this is a very special time. So I think it's worth taking a step back and asking ourselves why. Why should we be powering all this AI? And it's almost a philosophical question. Is AI going to be a net positive or a net negative for humanity? We want to reflect on the fact that back in the 1950s and 60s, a lot of people really felt like the future would be positive. People were largely optimistic coming off of a pretty difficult era. And we had spaceships, and we had diners that looked like spaceships, and we had cars that looked like spaceships, and spaceships that looked like spaceships, and everything seemed to be going in this really exciting direction. And now, if you kind of ask the public, I think a lot of people might, hum and haw at whether AI is actually going to be, really a net positive for humanity. So, addressing that deeply is probably beyond the scope of this keynote. But I will say, so Aalo, the reason we called Aalo is because it means the light in Bengali, and we'll speak more to that a little bit later. But we are pushing towards this bright, optimistic future. And we try to hire optimists who believe that what we're trying to do is possible. And to maybe distill down that deep philosophical question, it is our belief that if more than half of people think that things can turn out positive and believe it deeply, then that is the way that it'll go. We think we're still in the driver's seat here on which way this technology will progress. So we're doing our part in powering this. Let's just reflect on what AI can actually bring us. This is, strange to say almost, because 3 years ago, if anyone here played with GPT 2 or 3, it was kind of a bit of a joke. And now 3 years later, which is no time at all, it's doing coding for us. We have real conversations with it. It's helpful to us. It's important to reflect on just how unprecedented that is. So that's been in 3 years. Imagine what AI will do for us in 5 years, or 10 years, or 50. So one thing is we can cure diseases. There's an early sign of this. Protein folding was largely solved by AlphaFold, by Google DeepMind. It didn't have to be that way, but it turned out that AI was a very powerful tool to solve that kind of a challenge. That's somewhat of a surprising outcome, but this is now seeming like it might actually be possible. We can keep our loved ones alive longer. Work might be optional, and when I say work, I mean work we don't want to do. I think humans derive a lot of purpose and meaning from doing work, and I think that'll still happen. But think about all the times in your life when you've been doing some kind of work that you didn't want to do. Just imagine if you didn't have to do that. That's pretty incredible. AI will also be helping us to invent new technology. So it's getting very close now to discovering new physics, new math, new science. And if we kind of steer it in the direction that we want it to go to invent new technology, just imagine the types of things that could be possible for us to achieve. Technology, obviously, we're a tech company, we're biased, but we think it does a lot of good for humanity. And lastly, this one is kind of a bit of a curveball, but so we went from text to photos to videos, and there's been some pretty crazy demos on Twitter or X of people describing a virtual world and then being able to go and experience it in real time, unfolding as you experience this world. So it's going to be a crazy future, and we think it'll be bright. One that I want to just speak to a little bit on a personal note is the idea of curing all diseases. So this is a photo from the last Aalo event. I made sure I didn't wear the same thing because that would have been pretty awkward. Yeah, so for those of you who maybe don't know me as well, I was feeling a little bit off that day. I wasn't quite myself. And that's because basically in the days leading up to that event, I found out my mom had leukemia. And so this is my mom. I love her very dearly. And it's incredible to think that the stuff that we're doing can actually play a role in curing these types of diseases, like keeping people alive longer. So this is something very meaningful to me personally, and I think probably a lot of people at our company and probably here amongst our partners and suppliers. So I think that's a really meaningful thing that we can push towards. So this is why urgency matters. The faster we deploy this kind of technology with all of you, the faster we get more of these data centers online and evolve the algorithms and do more and more impressive things, the faster we can have incredibly meaningful outcomes, like keeping our loved ones alive for longer. Okay, so at the last event, around 9 months ago, we talked a lot about how factory mass manufacturing is what we think the answer to deploying more nuclear more quickly. So there's Henry Kaiser, Henry Ford, a bunch of forefathers who really pioneered this whole model in the past 100 years, more recently SpaceX and Tesla and so on. And I want to just briefly come back to this graph. So when we talked about factory mass manufacturing, it kind of sounds obvious almost. You say, okay, that makes sense. Mass manufacture something, come down the cost curve. But I really want to highlight actually that this is not something that most nuclear companies are doing. So we looked at this chart from an unnamed competitor, and what I want to highlight that often surprises people is they're a fully remote company. So they don't have a factory, not even necessarily a main office. And this is shockingly common in the nuclear space where people will design a reactor and get it built and then think about mass manufacturing. But we think that is a fundamentally flawed approach, because if you don't bake DFMA in from the beginning, then you'll finish your first reactor and then try to build another one, but then you'll have to change your design to make it more mass manufacturable, and that might even change your licensing case. So the old approach is you have a reactor designer who designs a reactor and sends those designs to dozens of suppliers. And those suppliers each have their own factory, and they make modules, a small modular reactor, which then comes onto site, but lo and behold, there's often slowdowns, there's mismatches, it doesn't fit together properly. And so we saw this actually happen recently in the past 20 years. The Vogtle plant went 10 years over schedule, $15 billion over budget. And this was largely because when the modules came together, they had reworks. There were other challenges too, but this was one of the main challenges there. So the new approach that we are trying to bring to life is this idea of an XMR, so extra modular reactor. We hate to introduce new acronyms. We think there's already enough acronyms, but maybe this is required to differentiate from what an SMR was meant to be. And the whole idea here is you take raw materials and work with key suppliers. These materials come into the gigawatt factory, and you output modules that you know will integrate properly together because you built them together in the factory. And this allows for much more rapid on-site assembly. And Yasir's going to show you a lot more on this to make this very real. So Aalo will be making mass manufactured nuclear a reality. So it's really great to have everyone here today. And I hope the main takeaway here is that this model of vertical integration, we believe, will be the winning strategy to deploy many gigawatts of nuclear. Right? So what we're trying to do is take, from a world where it takes 10 years to build a gigawatt plant, we are trying to be able to mass manufacture in the factory several gigawatts of capacity per year. So we're really turning that on its head. That is our objective. But the key thing is we can't do this alone, right? So even these kind of best-in-class examples of vertical integration, SpaceX has been widely reported to have 3,000 suppliers. Tesla is a bit more secretive about it, but allegedly it's 300. But still, there's a lot of suppliers that are still working with these very vertically integrated companies. So we can't do this alone. Stu already showed this. This is a pretty awesome visualization of everyone here today. 127 suppliers, 35 US states, 6 countries, and over 100,000 people. So it takes a village, or it takes 100,000 people to pull this off, and we couldn't be more proud to be working with all of you. So just briefly, a little bit of reflection on how fast we've come to this point. 2 years ago, we were a 2-person company. 2 years ago. Today, we are 100 people. So we're very proud of our growth. We just hired a recruiter as well, so this was largely through word of mouth and our network. We've raised actually about 136 is publicly disclosed. And by the way, shameless plug, we are raising more. So right now, so if there's any investors, we have a safe note open currently. But we will be achieving criticality within 6 months. So let's do a little reaction to that. This is a big deal. Going from founding to fission within 3 years, I mean, that's pretty special. That is unprecedented. So these are real photos from a very exciting video that I'm about to show you. But we are constructing on site. These are some less sexy photos that I just took with my iPhone. So work is actually happening on site. So in the top right corner, you see a concrete foundation. The forms were laid, the rebar inserted, the concrete poured, and forms removed in 24 hours. So this is kind of showing you, when people are excited about something, it happens quickly. When the world wants something to happen, it happens quickly. And a lot of anti-nuclear people have said nuclear is too slow, too expensive, et cetera. From first principles, nuclear is the fastest and cheapest way to get energy on the grid, powering humanity. And when you want to build it, it's going to happen quickly. So we're excited. And we're working a lot. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on site. And it's cold. I'm from Canada, and I thought it was cold. We wore 2 jackets that day. So it's really worth reflecting here. In the first atomic age, at Idaho National Lab, there were 52 test reactors that were built. And this is basically how nuclear technology was invented. And then when nuclear fell out of favor, temporarily, they turned off most of those reactors, and only 3 remained for decades. This is EBR-2. It's a famous dome. Look at that shape of the dome. So for decades, not much happened on the site. But a few weeks ago, something new started. Aalo came in, and this is our construction equipment. And we started building the first new power plant Not a test reactor that's going in a building that's existing, but a new building, a new plant, full scale, for the first time in 50 years. All right, so to celebrate, we have a video we'd like to show you.
My name is Mark Nesker. I'm the Aalo program manager. I started working on nuclear energy in 1991. My entire career has been in and out of different parts of nuclear energy. If you work at the site, you're probably up before dawn. I drove that road a lot of years, right? It almost feels like a home away from home. You do get a bond with the site over time. It becomes part of your DNA. Idaho National Lab is the premier lab for nuclear energy, and they are partnering with us. This is going to be my final chapter of my career. Try to do something that can really help humanity. Nuclear power, it is going to take us to where humanity needs to go. So there's been 52 reactors built at the INL. There really hasn't been anything in about 20 years. We're working really hard to do number 53. The conditions for nuclear energy, it's like I've never seen in 30 plus years. The president issued an executive order. He wanted at least 3 reactors to go critical by July 4th. We said, reporting for duty, and we showed up and we're building. And we're building fast. Every day you go out there, the landscape's changed. Everybody in this company is driving towards that criticality. We're going to go critical in Idaho by July 4th.
All right. So in closing, today we are celebrating. Today is a celebration with all of you for helping us to get to this point, by working with us, helping to invest in us. And today we are going to be shipping our first XMR modules together. So, yeah. But first, we have a few more internal sessions, external sessions. And so, to introduce the next speaker, I'd like to call Jimmy Glatfelty to the stage. Jimmy is the former chairman of the Public Utility Commission of Texas, and he is now our head of government programs in Texas as well. So, Jimmy.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Very, very exciting to go from a year ago talking about this to seeing a company that's actually doing it. It's exciting to have it happen right here in Austin, Texas as well. Again, I'm Jimmy Glatfelty, former Public Utility Commissioner, led the Texas Advanced Nuclear Working Group on behalf of Governor Abbott with his vision, which is how do we roll out the red carpet? You see the red carpet here. How do we make Texas the place to build nuclear reactors? Supply chain, supplying our industry, building the workforce, building the components. That is our goal. So we are excited to do that, and glad that you all are a part of it with us on this journey. A few people I want to recognize today. I am going to ask for applause at the end, but hold it until I introduce everybody. So first of all, my former colleague, Kathleen Jackson, Public Utility Commissioner. There were not many people that were more supportive of the Advanced Working Group than Kathleen Jackson. Every single day she wanted to know, what are we doing? How are we getting nuclear here? What are we going to do for the state of Texas? She is an unsung hero in this space. Pablo Vegas. Pablo is the CEO of ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. Without ERCOT, power doesn't flow across this state. He was part of our working group and has the intellectual modeling team to help us know where to put reactors around the state, if that's the way that we choose to go at a large scale. Small scale, they can probably go anywhere. But Pablo's been a believer in nuclear for a long, long time, been in the utility business, and believes that nuclear power is the way to the future. He's dealing with all the load associated with data centers, so having new nuclear out there will help solve some of these problems. Back here in the fourth row, we have Jenny Holloway from the Lieutenant Governor's office. Jenny's been involved in these energy issues for as long as I've been here, and she was really involved in making sure that the first step that Texas put towards nuclear in terms of state funding was put in place and was part of the package this last session. And the last three people that we have are the folks who are running the Texas Advanced Nuclear Energy Office. This is the pinnacle of what we did in our report and what happened last session, which is how is Texas going to roll out the money that they have appropriated? How are we going to do this with a mindset towards building and operating reactors in Texas? Margot Fox, Elisa Gleason, and Jared Schaefer. So they are the ones that you're going to be interfacing with over the years, or your customers. Or if you're building the reactor, you're going to be interfacing with them to help get permits in the state. And we hope it will be seamless and easy. Texas is a can-do state, and we can build things very quickly here. It's our hope that nuclear will be no different than that. Jared has been in the governor's office for about the last 4 years, since Winter Storm Uri. He has been in the legislature prior to that. He has been a steadfast believer in building baseload generation across the state. He believes that all megawatts actually need to be built, but has been a huge believer in this nuclear effort. He is taking the governor's vision that we began to roll out, and he's making it reality. We just wrote a report. He's making it real. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jared. He's going to come up and say a few words. Jared.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Jared Schaefer, Director of the Texas Advanced Nuclear Energy Office. And Aalo, thanks for having us. This is an amazing event. And what a great accomplishment. And all the accomplishments that you guys had to date, 2 years ago, 2 people. It's extraordinary. And I think it's a reflection of kind of the momentum, the excitement, the enthusiasm, and the realm of possibility in which this industry is now. And Texas really is a partner in that pursuit. We want, under the governor's leadership, we want Texas to really become the headquarters of the American nuclear renaissance. And what we mean by that is not only Aalo, but everybody else in this room. We are keen on identifying what our competitive strengths are as a state and aggressively pursuing those. In increasing the manufacturing capacity in the supply chain, in the fuel, is an area of opportunity that I think that we're really going to be interested to see if we can support with our programs. We were, with the support of Governor Abbott and the investment by the Texas legislature, we put $350 million into initial reimbursement grant programs. One, looking at project development and supply chain. So I'd love to get to meet a lot of you that have a presence here and are interested in where we're going. Those with in-stamps, like how do we get more in-stamps in the state of Texas? That would be a great use of that kind of those dollars. And then the other is on the backside with Aalo and other reactor companies and fuel fabrication facilities. But as a part of that program, their construction activities are eligible expenses. We want to help de-risk that long lead time capital exposure for some of the activities and procurement of components. We also want to be a facilitator through the state regulatory process. Many of these projects will have to kind of go figure out, okay, what division at TCEQ is water, what's wastewater? Do I need to go talk to the historical commission? Come to us, we'll connect you, rather than having to go figure it out. We want to be an accelerator through the process. We're not circumnavigating steps or anything. We just want to help you move at the speed in which your business wants to operate. And then finally, we're kind of just the strategic leader. More than anything, Teneo is the state of Texas sending a clear message to the nation and the industry that we are committed to advancing this industry here in the state of Texas with an eye on the commercialization of this industry. And part of Teneo's role is just to keep up to speed with what's going on. 2 years ago, 2 people. We were working on House Bill 14 in March, and here we are today, 4 executive orders later, and we're trying to figure out, it's a little stale. Things are changing so quickly, it's so exciting. In our office, we'll stay engaged, we'll stay with the times, we'll incorporate lessons learned, obstacles, challenges, way to overcome those in a biennial strategic plan, and then look to work with our legislative partners in continuing to advance this office, this program, and this industry in the state of Texas. So that's where we're at, but we're only a couple months in, so give us some time, but we're working as quickly as we can.
Please welcome to the stage Tim Frazier, Aalo's VP of Government Programs.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank everybody for coming. Jimmy and I were just talking earlier. All of the companies have 2 senators in their state and at least 1 House representative. So you all are important to us from the government perspective. Thank you all for coming. I did want to give a shout out to Callie Young from the great state of Idaho. As most of you've seen, we have a great presence in Idaho, which is very important to us. Headquarters is here. Engineering, most of the engineering staff, some of them are here, are located out in Idaho. My job in Washington and around the rest of the communities, including the state of Idaho and state of Texas, is just to try to make sure that everybody stays on the same page. Just a real quick note about Washington these days. Nuclear has never been more bipartisan, ever. Matt mentioned how public is support and public's aligned behind it. It's the same way up on the Hill. The executive branch, President Trump, I don't know what more you could ask for him to do for nuclear that he hasn't done. If you think of anything, let us know and we'll get it into the queue. But now I have the great pleasure of introducing Chairman David Wright. David was going to be here with us. When we started talking about Aaloverse, I gave him a ring and said, hey, can you come out? He was planning to come out. Plans change in Washington. And since he's not here, I can say he's a dear old friend. If he was here, I would say long time. But he's a great guy, David Wright.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but I'm happy to speak with you today. I understand 2025 was a banner year for Aalo. You were among the first to sign an agreement with the DOE under the Reactor pilot program, taking critical steps to close the gap between demonstration and commercialization of advanced nuclear energy. You also completed a rigorous initial design review. The NRC staff appreciated the opportunity to work with you on your regulatory engagement plan, quality assurance topical report, and collaborative design discussions. These interactions are part of our broader effort to ensure every step forward in nuclear innovation is grounded in safety. Pre-application engagement is crucial for successful licensing. It allows you to understand our processes and expectations, and it allows us to identify the expertise needed to support your application. I saw firsthand the value of meaningful engagement during my recent visit to Idaho. Together, these interactions highlight the importance of transparent communication and mutual respect for the complementary roles of safety and innovation in advancing responsible licensing progress. From the NRC's perspective, the path to deployment is demanding. It requires a steady hand, a clear vision, and a deep respect for the safety principles that guide our work. It also calls for collaboration and a shared understanding of our distinct responsibilities as we work together to meet the nation's growing energy demand. At the NRC, safety is our ever-present North Star, guiding the expertise and dedication our staff brings to technical reviews, stakeholder engagement, and inspections across the country. This commitment shapes how we partner with industry and innovators, supporting progress while keeping safety central to every decision. With that commitment in mind, I wish you continued success as you pursue your ambitious goals. Congratulations on your noteworthy achievements to date, and I wish everyone there today a happy holiday season and much success as we go into the new year. Merry Christmas.
Please welcome to the stage co-founder, CTO, and new father, Yasir Arafat.
Hello. How are we doing? Fantastic. I am so excited and thrilled to have you guys all come out here on this beautiful, cold day in Austin. But thank you. Really excited for you guys to join us today. There's a reason why we left that glorious building of a factory and put you guys all in the tent, but I'm going to keep the surprise for the very ending here. Before I want to get started, I want to take you to the origin of our company name, right? Aalo. So some of you who know me, I grew up in Bangladesh, and in the language Bengali, Aalo means the light, right? It is a very positive word. This is a word that brings hope, energy, and positivity to the people. But energy is something that Bangladesh lacks, right? Unlike here in the United States, electricity is not guaranteed in Bangladesh, right? We used to have daily brownouts, and that was part of our daily life, right? And once you had a brownout, it could last hours. So when the power went out, life slowed down, the streets went dark, and the homes became silent. And I remember studying in candlelight growing up. And that kind of experience leaves a mark, right? So when you grow up without reliable power, you realize that electricity is not a given. It's not a privilege. It's actually an opportunity. Turns out there's over 1 billion people in the world that does not have reliable electricity. That is a fascinating statistic, right? So things are changing these days, right? So because of that shortage, I decided to spend my entire life building nuclear power plants. Not because nuclear is interesting, but because it's the only technology that we can scale reliably. Now, I've spent many years in the nuclear industry, about 15 years, from my early days spending time in Westinghouse, to the time I worked at the Idaho National Laboratory, to now at Aalo. I've been working towards answering basically one fundamental question. How do we bring safe, reliable nuclear to the people? How do we bring the light to everyone, right? How do we bring Aalo to the people of the world? Now today, we're sort of in an inflection point, and that inflection point is AI. It's reshaping everything, and Matt already covered some of the exciting things that AI is doing in terms of changing the landscape of medicine, productivity, and national security. Almost every sector is getting affected by AI in a positive way. But AI has an appetite problem, right? And that appetite problem is electricity. And as Matt mentioned earlier, this power demand just in the US alone is nearly 100 gigawatts. And this demand is not over the next 50 years. It's just over the next 5 years. That is incredible amount of energy. And people are starting to realize, how are we going to meet this demand? Renewables alone cannot meet the need. And gas turbines still emit carbon dioxide, right? How are we going to meet these massive growth in AI? And almost unanimously, everybody thinks nuclear is a solution, right? So the second atomic age is really entirely driven by AI alone. But here's the problem. The last time the United States tried to build nuclear power plants, it took us 18 years. 18 years. That timeline simply does not work with the future that we're moving towards, right? AI move in months. We can't have nuclear power plant go in decades. It just doesn't match up, right? But just for the sake of argument, let's just say as a country, we became really good at building gigawatt scale plants, right? And instead of 18 years, we built 2 of these plants in just 5. Even then, we can only tap into just 3% of that load growth, of that profile. We cannot fulfill the demand of AI just by doing things how our grandfather nuclear power plants did. The second atomic age has to follow an entirely new model, right? So what does this second atomic age look like? It actually looks like a shift. It's a shift from projects to products, right? Projects, it brings essentially the people to the work site, whereas products, we bring the work to the people, right? Projects measure success by being on time and on budget, which they rarely do, by the way, right? But products, the way we measure success is how frequently we can bring goods and services to the customer over and over again. It's not a one-time deal. You got to do it over and over again. But the challenge is nuclear has been stuck in this project mindset in the last 50 years. And that has to change. Some people thought that the solution would be, hey, let's go build these gigawatt scale plants smaller. You guys have heard about SMRs, right? But that did not essentially solve the problem, and that's why most of these are in paper reactors, and some countries decided to go ahead and build it anyways, and that's essentially what an SMR looks like. It still looks like a big construction project, right? Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that engineers aren't smart, right? It's because any nuclear plant is inherently very complex, including the one that we're designing right now, right? There are thousands of parts, very tight tolerances, a lot of safety critical systems. Complexity is almost unavoidable, but chaos doesn't have to be, right? So 500 years ago, a very old man and wise man called Leonardo da Vinci reminded us that you may find the ultimate sophistication is in simplicity, right? Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Now the question is, for nuclear deployments, is there a simple solution? Right. So we thought long and hard about this problem. And then I'm going to take you a little deeper dive into how engineers design things. Whether you're building a car or a plane or a rocket, system engineering is very simple, right? You start defining the system breaks down into subsystems, and those subsystems break into components. Now, many of you guys who are engineers in the room here, you'll understand that we know what systems are very well. We know what components are, but subsystems are fuzzy, right? It's like this undefined morphe middle ground in betweens that is not very well defined. So we thought, okay, we're going to go and change subsystems into something that is extremely well-defined, structured. These are the things that we entirely redefining that middle portion. So instead of subsystems, we replace them with modules. So now instead of system, subsystem, and components, we have system, modules, and components, right? So what are modules? These are essentially the Lego blocks of our power plant, right? Modules are basically a bunch of equipment jammed inside a very fixed geometry, which essentially looks like a shipping container frame, except it's lighter, it's stronger, it can be manipulated in both directions, horizontally and vertically, which shipping containers cannot do. These are extremely simple components. There are no walls, so that when we connect them together, we can connect the piping, the electronics, the wiring, and it's entirely fully transport ready. So the idea is very simple, but these modules stay in this very form in the factory, on the road, and also in the power plants. They don't really change. And that's the beauty of this solution. These are essentially the Lego blocks which are fully factory built, fully factory tested, and we can repeat this over and over again. So when you cluster them together, it essentially looks like this, right? It's a cluster of these modules that make up the internals of our power plant, and we call this concept an extra modular reactor. This is the XMR that can truly change how nuclear is deployed on the site, right? This is what leaves the factory. When it gets to the site, all you need is a simple industrial building to host all this equipment. And a building that can be built in less than 6 months. This is the Aalo Pod, a 50 megawatt electric power plant. This is our first product, our first XMR. This is what's going to replace gas turbines in data centers. And the first manifestation of our power plant is the one we're building at Idaho National Lab. It's called the Aalo-X. This is 10 megawatt electric system, right? And it is our first power plant. And the site, this is not just a pretty presentation, by the way. There's a lot of construction activities going on. We started groundbreaking about a month ago. And as our manufacturing team is building equipment here in the factory, our on-site team is trying to find innovative ways how to streamline building a nuclear power plant on site. For example, this is Bauer's vertical drilling technology that can dig through any soil conditions at a remarkable speed in a controlled way. So we're trying to figure out what are all the different innovations that can ultimately help us transition from a project to a product so that we can deploy each one of these pods in less than 6 months. But here's the core insight. You don't scale nuclear by designing another reactor. You scale nuclear by designing a factory. And that's exactly what we have done. Earlier this year, some of you have attended our factory unveiling, and we launched our pilot factory. That's that building over there next door, right? We didn't just design reactors on paper, we built them. We welded real hardware, we assembled it, and we actually tested this hardware. And the most important aspect is we learned a lot. We learned that you don't wait to manufacture until the design is done. You do design for manufacturability and assembly early in the process, not as an afterthought. We learned how to speed up welding and fabrication by 50% by building robots. And we have deployed some of those robots in our factory. We learned what components we should vertically integrate and build it ourselves because nobody else makes them. And we also learned which components we want to rely on our partners and suppliers because you guys make it very good over and over again, right? So we learned a lot in our factory. And with all that learning, we're finally ready to take the next bold step. I'm happy to announce in 2028, Aalo will launch the world's first gigawatt factory. And it might just end up being in Texas, who knows? Let's talk about the gigawatt factory. What is the gigawatt factory look like? Here's the plan. This is a massive 1 million square feet manufacturing facility that's going to have hundreds, nearly 1,000 high-skilled employees that's going to build more than 100 reactors a year, right? That's equivalent to more than a gigawatt every single year. Now, that all sounds great, but this would require a ton of building, right? If you think about some of the components, we have to build more than 2,000 vessels, right? 30,000 linear feet of piping. We have to procure 1,200 pumps. Flowserve, you're looking at me, we're gonna have to rely on you guys. A lot of fuel assemblies, a lot of uranium will have to dug from the ground, from mining, all the way to fuel assemblies. And these modules that I showed you earlier, we have to build more than 800 of those. This is mega construction in an epic proportion inside a factory. For us to scale effectively, we can't do it alone. We need all of you in this room to help us out. We need our partners and suppliers to help us achieve this massive scale. And so today, this is our ecosystem. You've seen this graph many times today, 127 suppliers, 35 US states, 6 countries, and a lot of people. But we need to grow this map significantly if we're about to achieve this scale. Scaling up to 100 reactors a year, that's a whole different ballgame, right? That means we'll have to work even more closely together, trying to make sure that we can share some of the quality systems, how we do the logistics, the inspections, and we have to share what our demand predictions look like over the next couple of years. And then not work as a single PO exchange, but we'll have to work as a multi-year contract. This is an ecosystem, one that could be as big as more than $10 billion a year for this entire ecosystem for suppliers. So we welcome you guys to join this ecosystem and help us grow. We want to see you guys grow and your business grow along with it. So your growth becomes our growth, and we need help in everything: machining, heat exchangers, fuel, pumps, turbines, power supply systems. We need it all. Now, there are some companies who are like, wait a second, Aalo, we don't want to just help you in your first reactor, we want to get ahead of the curve. So some of these companies have actually stepped forward and said, let's put a strategic partnership together to make sure that we can help you guys scale effectively. And here's an example of some of the companies that have already taken that step. Flowserve is providing us pumps for all of our reactor components. Baker Hughes and Siemens are providing us turbines so we can turn that heat to electricity. Urenco is helping us scale to get the uranium at the right enrichment level so we can make fuel out of it. And obviously we have Idaho National Laboratory, who's been our long-term partner in developing our technologies. So this is an ecosystem. An ecosystem that we're assembling today will essentially become the backbone of nuclear for the next 50 years, right? And once we juice up all of the AI world with all of our amazing nuclear technology, we're going to bring the power, the cost of power low enough that one day we can essentially take this energy technology and give it to the developing worlds so that no kid has to grow up with candlelight again. And on a personal note, we did have a baby. He's just a month old. He's right there in that crib. Now, thanks for joining. When he was born, when I saw his face, I never felt as much inspired as I was, trying to do what we are doing here at Aalo, right? We are building the technologies for the next generation, right? We're building technologies so that our kids, our future generation, can have a better life and they live in a better world and can thrive in that world in a better state that we grew up in. So that's why it inspires us to do what we do here at Aalo Atomics. But if there's one thing in common between building nuclear reactors and raising a child, it takes a village, right? And we can build the world's most amazing technologies, but we cannot deploy it without each and every one of you here in this room. And with that, I want to take you into a deeper look into some of the partners and suppliers, and I want to invite a few people on the stage who are helping this future with us. So with that, I want to invite our panelists, John, Paul, Julian, and Bill. Why don't you make up to the stage?
Power has been the long pole in the tent to completing data center build-outs. This is what is needed. We can't rely on the grid anymore.
The nuclear industry is quite different than, say, like Tesla, where I spent a few years, and also even in train bearings, where in the nuclear industry, you really can't take those same risks.
I have been in supply chain for over 25 years, mostly in aerospace and defense, but I did do 8 years in a nuclear company.
So the fuel and core system includes graphite, zirconium, fuel. It's important for the supply chain to have the experience with traceability and material control, and basically a consistent process that is able to deliver quality materials and components.
We've got such a good tailwind in the nuclear industry here that it's going to encourage suppliers to jump in. So we're going to have more and more calls where they already know our standards. Yeah, my message to our supply chain really is gratitude. I know how we've been very demanding and asked a lot of you in terms of documentation and quick turnarounds, and I've just really been impressed by the flexibility that our supply chain has shown.
As we scale, our partner suppliers will scale. There will be a huge demand on specific product lines and materials that will be needed by all of the companies trying to manufacture reactors.
We rely on our partners to deliver products so we can build the product and sell it to our customers. I've always treated my suppliers as an extension of our company so we can all be successful together.
Amazing. All right. Well, first of all, I want to welcome each and every one of you joining us today and saying a few words. Maybe before we get started, let's do a quick introduction. We'll keep it simple in the overall panel. We'll ask you 3 questions and we'll go around the entire panel sessions here. Let's start with introductions. What do you guys do? Who are you in the organization? And what does your company build? Okay, let's start from here.
All right, I'll start. My name is Paul Osclinton. I'm the Chief Nuclear Officer at Urenco USA. So ultimately, we provide enrichment services for the entire nuclear industry, as well as Aalo. So the key aspects I do as a Chief Nuclear Officer is to just make sure that we continue to enrich within our regulatory space, making sure that we continue to produce safely and ultimately on time so that we can meet all those goals that all the different nuclear companies such as Aalo are trying to meet going into the future.
Hi, my name is Billy Loader. I'm from DuBose National Energy Services. I've been a nuclear sales engineer for 22 years. DuBose is a material supplier. We're a leading material supplier for everything steel related, including nuclear fabrications and machine parts and raw materials.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Barr, and I'm the nuclear segment leader at Flowserve Corporation, based in our headquarters up the road in Dallas. First of all, thank you, Yasir and Matt and your entire team. Congratulations on all of the amazing work you've done to get us to this point. In my role at Flowserve, I lead strategy and partnerships for our global nuclear business. We supply pumps, valves, seals, and other equipment and technology for the global, all industries, but really a huge presence in the nuclear industry dating back to the 1950s. We saw a picture here of EBR2. Those were Flowserve, Byron Jackson pumps going in there, and we're really excited to bring all of that expertise and global presence to help make this process successful.
Amazing.
Yeah, good morning, John Portillo. I'm the Vice President of Global New Nuclear at Paragon Energy Solutions. Again, appreciate the invite here. We're here to support Aalo reactor protection systems, neutron monitoring systems, various commercial grade dedication, and anything safety related that they're going to need to support. What Paragon does, we're based up the road in Fort Worth, Texas also, so we always love these Texas-based companies. So we're here to support you guys and all of the new nuclear out there to make sure that we're meeting these goals and deploying safe, clean energy. Thank you again for the invite.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Julian Matthews from Baker Hughes. I'm the Sales and Business Development Director and Global Leader for the steam turbine business and SMR business. I've been around steam turbines, gas turbines for 30 years now in technical sales. and I was brought on to Baker Hughes actually, interestingly enough, to continue developing the gas turbine business into data centers, originally in Northern Europe. It quickly became apparent that that's the today, here and now technology of today. It shouldn't be the technology of the future, burning a primary fuel in such an energy-demanding environment. Our company is a technology provider of rotating equipment, from process gas compressors in the oil and gas and LNG business and world to the steam turbines and gas turbines for data centers. My role now functionally has really morphed into really focusing only on the SMR business and the steam turbine business globally, and we're very excited to be here and to continue supporting Yasir and his team. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you everyone. So so we want to learn a little bit about how your business really work and what is your experience has been working with Aalo. Obviously, there's a lot of nuclear companies, and we're seeing new ones spinning out almost every day. And there's a lot of early stage ones and more mature companies. So y'all provide services and products to current nuclear industries. That's your primary market. When a new entrant like Aalo comes forward, how do you decipher which one is a serious company, which one is not? What was experience look like working with Aalo and the rest of the industry that comes to your door? And maybe we'll start with you, Paul.
All right. Okay, so we'll just keep going down the line. Okay. So the first thing that I would tell you is when a new reactor company comes to us, we evaluate it on several levels. Basically, we evaluate on its maturity, design, applicability, viability, right? So the one thing that really attracted us to what Aalo was talking about is the ability to recognize, and you've talked about it throughout the presentation today, the practicality of where the nuclear industry is today, and then into the future. So the fact that, for example, most of our new entrants are focused on HALEU. Just under 20% in order to develop those small modular reactors, right? Aalo is more focused practically on LEU today, which is just under 5%, and then LEU plus in the very near future, which is just under 10%. LEU currently exists. We make it right now. We make it for not only Aalo, but also other broad-based big reactors, but also this LEU plus. And I'm happy to report that one thing that Aalo continues to keep us on our toes is we know that we're going to have a LEU plus customer here coming up very, very soon. We actually started our production of LEU plus just last week. So that drive is what endears us to this company and keeps us going.
Amazing. That's great.
Yeah, and I could speak to our relationships with different Aalo employees. We've got a very long history with a number of different employees through Aalo, and once we made touches to them, or once we spoke through our old relationships, we came to understand how wonderful Aalo was, and we were excited to support Aalo on a material side of things, which we've been doing at a very high level, and we look forward to doing moving forward.
Yeah, great. And by the way, both Paul and Bill, they provide some of the most critical materials that we need for our reactors. One is nuclear fuel, obviously uranium, and the second one is material. As you can see, like majority of our stuff built in the factory is made out of stainless steel. And DuBose has an extremely amazing group of sub-suppliers where they can get almost every raw stock materials that we need to build our stuff, right? So that's a lot of steel we're talking about. So thank you for sharing your insights. Okay, John.
Yes, so this is a great question, and one that I get a lot, because we are actively working with all of the large reactor companies, many SMR companies. There's too many to work with all of them. I have no desire to work with all of them. Part of the business strategy that makes nuclear work is by having deeper partnerships with the teams that you think have what it takes to go all the way and not just build one reactor by 2030, but many, many dozens by the mid-2030s and even beyond. And so when I joined Flowserve in January, we had actually just received the engineering order for the primary sodium pumps for the first Aalo-X. And when I talk with our team there, having great relationships with your team, with people like Kyle Francis, and they've had a great relationship working together. And we had the opportunity to scale that up into the order for the primary sodium pumps. It's an excellent fit with our product offering. And what we love about Aalo is essentially the design for manufacturability. Gives us that credible approach to really true scaling. And that scaling is something that we can then take advantage of our global manufacturing presence across the US, across the world, with our supplier network to help bring in the lower costs that make these projects successful. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, for us, we've been supplying commercial nuclear reactors for over 35 years. I've been with the organization for 29 years. So we're always looking to how can we support the nuclear industry, because that truly is our only customer. A year and a half ago, I met a few folks from Aalo at Texas Nuclear Alliance, the first meeting, Matthew being one of them back there. Mm-hmm. And obviously you guys being a Texas-based organization, it was somebody that we really wanted to work with. But as John said, we can't work with everybody. So we do want to make sure that we're aligning ourselves with organizations that have the same core values that we do. And one of the things that we evaluate is there somebody in the leadership team that actually has experience in designing a reactor in the past, right? And Aalo obviously fit that mold. So it was definitely an organization we wanted to align ourselves with and make sure that we could support in the long run.
Amazing. Thank you, John. Okay, Julian.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what John said, well, both Johns actually. We're working also with, I would say, probably 10 to 15 of the SMR developers right now. You can't support everybody. We were already very active in the data center world, and it's a big focus for Baker Hughes on the industrial scene. Our current gas turbine is a 17 megawatt node size. Right. What we know from that business is we're becoming a little bit small at 17 megawatts with the size of data centers that they're in planning and also coming online. We know that a 35 to 50 megawatt is absolutely ideal for the future. Gas turbines feels like the here and now. We need to tell a story that we don't have a bigger gas turbine right now than that. But actually, by the time we developed a bigger gas turbine, guess what would be online and probably preferable? An SMR. Mm-hmm. But we do have a fantastic range up to 200 megawatts in steam turbines, standardized steam turbines. So we look for a company that's really in that around about that 40, 50 megawatt node size for a business that we're very, very focused on data centers. We look for a company that's got a solid fuel strategy, going back to the discussions about the LEU. I hear all the time that companies will get HALEU for demonstration projects, but not for commercial projects, or it's not guaranteed. So, just like investors, suppliers want to know that you've got a robust fuel strategy as well to go forwards. Last year, we really focused on data centers, and we like that you're very focused on data centers. We had an order book of just 10 gas turbines last year for data centers in the US. We sit here today, we've got 136 gas turbines in backlog in the same data center industry, just in the US, right? But gas turbine lead times now are up to 2.5, 3 years, and it's increasing. And I think very, very shortly there'll be a coming together between the first deployed SMRs, XMRs, and gas turbine lead times. So it really fits Baker Hughes' vision and narrative to be in this relationship. From the Aalo perspective, I think it's probably the first time in a 30-year career that I've really seen an organisation value more than just price. Not to say we're expensive, but you really do value the relationship. You really do value the support, and it's a dream for somebody selling a product to see that somebody, a potential customer, actually values something more than just price. That the support, the level. This is a flying trip for me. Just one night in Austin to come round, to come over here. We attended your factory unveiling. So I think it's been very reciprocal, that you appreciate the support and the levels of support we give you, and we appreciate your commitment to us.
Yeah. No, well said, Julian. Thank you. And again, I think this is more than just a transaction for us. We want to build long-term relationships with every one of our partners and suppliers. Even though they're suppliers, we call them partners because it does require a partnership for us to be able to move this ecosystem forward. Now, speaking of which, onto the last and the juiciest question of the day is we have some really big, epic plans of scale up, right? And we want to understand from you and your organization perspective, if we have a scale-up plan for 100 reactors a year, obviously you all will have to scale with us. We want to understand a little bit about what's your production capacity of whatever you're building today and where you're building it, and what challenges do you see in overcoming the supply chain and procurement challenges from your end, trying to scale with us, right? So what's your production capacity? Where do you build stuff, and how do you see scale for Aalo's demands going forward?
All right, so first off, Urenco USA is located in southeast New Mexico, so that's where we do our enriching. Right now we have about 4.3 million separative work units. That is approximately a third of the total U.S. nuclear capacity and demand currently today for enrichment services. We are expanding. We've already announced expanding last year by about 15% because that's what the demand is telling us right now is what we need, and we're meeting our schedule for that. So we've already, 15% equals about 8 cascades, 8 units, and we've expanded. We actually just put on our third cascade yesterday, right on time, right on schedule, right? So as a result, what we're seeing from demand is that's what we're needing and ready to ramp up. We are considering building other buildings as well, which would add about a 30% capacity on top of that extra 15%. But that's a little bit in the future, a few years in the future. Again, that's depending on demand. What I'm really interested in seeing is us together, right, meeting those ambitious schedules, right? Because ultimately, when we first started up, that was the most challenging thing in being able to show where we were going to. If you meet those initial schedules and demands and those initial criticalities before July 4th, that shows how successful your company is going to be going into the future. So ultimately, those are the key market signals for us, for any company, right? To really, really go and partner and drive future success.
Yeah, great. And Paul, how much advance notice do you all expect to ramp up effectively? Is it like in a week, month, years?
Yeah, so ultimately it takes about 3 to 4 years to build a big building, right? And a big building, what that is translates into that 20 to 30% that we're talking about. So we have other demand signals that are telling us to go, right? So it's not just a one customer type thing. It's a combination of the industry and what the industry is telling us. So ultimately, we may decide to expand anyway and then be ready for that increased demand from Aalo or for any other reactor company. But generally speaking, we're talking about 4 to 5 years before we can bring major infrastructure online.
Amazing. All right.
Yes, so DuBose National Energy Services, we are owned by the Reliance Steel and Aluminum Group. That gives us the ability to get the deepest discounts at every major mill, which helps on a pricing side of things. And no job is too big. We don't shy away from anything. But they also help fund our facilities. We have a 30,000 square foot machining division, 130,000 square foot fabrication division, and we have about 1 million square feet. And we are only running at about half capacity right now. We have the ability to expand with you guys at any time. And we even run VMI, vendor managed inventory for you guys, which we are doing right now, where we hold materials for you after you guys have bought them, and then we ship them to you as needed. So yeah, we're ready to expand right with you.
So when we go to the 100 reactors a year level of production and the amount of steel that can go with that, what kind of dent or production increase is that going to have an impact on your business? Is it like 1% more steel that you produce, or 5% or 50%?
It would just depend. I really can't speak to that without seeing the
difficult question to
designs.
ask.
Well, it is, just without seeing everything that would take.
Yeah.
But I can say we are in just about every major city in the United States. So
Amazing.
if we, our parent organization, so if we ran out of any space, we would always be able to go get more space as needed.
That's great. So we won't have any steel shortage problems. That's right. All right, let's go.
As long as it can be made in,
Perfect.
in the small window it's needed.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about a little bit more complex parts like pumps that survive in sodium environments, and we have to make hundreds of these. John, any insights?
That's right. And capacity is a complicated question because it is evolving right now. We have about 15 different facilities across North America, Europe, and Asia that have some presence in our nuclear business, and so that gives us a good footprint from which to expand. We're not talking about building a brand new facility out of the ground. That would take longer to get going, especially if it needs an end stamp. But part of the reason it's complicated is because there are other companies too who we're having similar conversations with. One big example, obviously, is Westinghouse, who has very ambitious plans for AP1000 deployments. And so we're also trying to understand some of their deployment trajectories too, and looking at our capacity, our production slots, basically, to have that. And so as we talk about this level of ambition for scaling up, this is the kind of transformative process that changes how we do things. And that's why it's so important to have that deeper relationship, the trust from your top level to the top at Flowserve, because it really means doing things in a different way. So ultimately, that's what we're excited about. Our CEO, Scott Rowe, that's what he's looking to me and our other leadership team to basically help us figure out where are the best opportunities for Flowserve. Also, I'll talk about our ability to supply. It depends on our own supply chain. And so we need the firm demand signal in terms of the orders that we can then take to our own supply chains. We have those conversations with the key ones like castings as well. So that's an ongoing process we're having, and ultimately we feel like we're in a great position given our global footprint. But we're expanding our staffing, investing in our facilities absolutely right now.
Okay, great. And I know we love the fact that you are a Texas-based company as well. And do you have any plans to expand into additional manufacturing facilities? And if so, where are you guys shopping around?
So we do have a quick response center outside the Houston area that would give us the possibility to scale up. Now, it's not something we would use for probably the first Aalo-X or probably the first Aalo pod, but once the Gigafactory is up and running, everything's on the table. So
amazing. What about services? Do you all, what service participation that you have after you deploy the first set of pumps? Do you also offer the maintenance of those pumps?
Absolutely, and that is an area where we're expanding, we're increasing our staffing in terms of the on-site presence for that service. At operating reactors around the world, we have our teams that go in during outages that help the utilities and the operators go through the process of evaluating replacements, repairs, things like that. So that is an important part of the value that we bring, and especially with a technology like sodium, that kind of maintenance is extremely important.
Amazing. And do you see any challenges in the workforce development, growing that team?
No special challenges for Flowserve that the entire panel probably wouldn't face, but it is something that I've been having more conversations with our HR team about how we go about expanding our team. So we're excited to do that. Raleigh is one of our biggest facilities that's end stamp that's more on our valve side. We're expanding a lot in that facility. So
amazing.
Lots of expansion plans.
Okay, awesome. Another Texas-based company. We're obviously working together right now, but we need to scale up quite a bit in terms of RPS, instrumentation and control. Any insight on how your scale-up plans look like, John?
Yeah, so we are based in Fort Worth. We have 200,000 square foot facility up there right now. I guess I should have started off when I introduced myself, because as of December 1st, we are now Paragon Energy Solutions, a Mirion company, because Mirion just acquired us.
Beautiful.
So that actually helps a lot. One of the main reasons why we went to that transaction was so we could expand our facility in Fort Worth. And so we're currently building out 5 different independent sections for this very production-oriented manufacturing process. But what it also does is it allows us to control our supply chain a little bit better on detectors, because Mirion manufactures detectors in Horsehead, New York, in addition to MI cable. So just as an example, when we talk about neutron flux detectors or the wide range detectors, if you guys, when you get to building 100 of these in 2030 and 2031, by 2031, more neutron detectors will have to have been manufactured by that date than have ever been made in the history of the nuclear industry. So that's a supply chain challenge that most people aren't thinking about. The amount of MI cable, the uranium that's needed, and actually manufacturing a neutron detector is going to be quite a complex and significant task. But that's what we are scaling up to right now. So those type of demand signals is what we're going to need as far as working together and getting that placed ahead of time, because it's about a 2.5 year process sometimes to get those manufactured at scale. Right. But as our Fort Worth building the electronics, we're already scaling up for that. We are also looking at expanding a little bit further, again, in the Texas area, to where we can do some additional manufacturing and have additional capabilities, because in addition to the electronics, we also have our in-stamp, and we're supporting you guys with some commercial grade dedication on some of your production equipment. When it comes to electrical equipment, we're supporting with that as well. So we have a lot going on in our facility, but what we're trying to transition from right now is from supporting the existing commercial nuclear fleet with the onesie twosies to turning it into a manufacturing production facility of building hundreds of these to support you and the other new nuclear customers out there. So but that's our goal, and we've already started that process, and we're happy to be part of this.
Amazing. Julian, any plans for scale up? Any plans for scale up here?
I think the first thing to understand, for us all to understand, is steam turbines at this size, it's classic industrial, right? So it's a standard product, it's what we want, it's off the shelf effectively, as far as a steam turbine can be. Not as standard and modular as a gas turbine, but very, very close. So it's manufactured from families of well-proven ranges of static and dynamic components effectively. This range of turbines is sold by Baker Hughes into oil and gas and into traditional pulp and paper, waste to energy, industrial markets. Some of these markets are flat, some of them are declining a little bit, some of them are increasing. What I could say right now is, on balance, by the time you need 100 steam turbines of 50 megawatt, we would already be able to supply that, we feel. Because of the balance of declining traditional industries, flat existing industries. Secondly, the IET, Industrial Energy Technology part of our company, was formed to use the great API spec technology in steam turbines and gas compressors, and to transition them across to clean tech applications. So it's within our LRP already to scale, to follow the industry, not just with Aalo, but with other developers and also other industries as well that will demand steam turbines, process gas compressors. The manufacturing of a steam turbine, it doesn't take very different technology and manufacturing technology to manufacture a process gas compressor, a multi-stage barrel compressor. So our factories are already interchangeable in terms of their manufacturing capabilities. We're a 58,000 person company worldwide, already with a lot of manufacturing footprint for the different technology that we manufacture. So in summary, I think if we were just talking about 3 reactor developers in the up to 150 megawatt range, manufacturing 100 per year, by the time you need that 100 per year, we wouldn't need actually to scale in footprint. We'd have to change our manufacturing blend our structure a little bit, but not too much. To kick on from that, what I'm driving into our company, and it's a credibility thing, it's an openness, it's a transparency that we need. So I will need to continue driving the funnel, right, and the demand with the success of Aalo-X as well, and the growth generally in the industry, to push into our company and to our management to put the actual dollars behind the LRP, and then start talking about scaling for the next scale, let's say the next gigawatt factory.
Yeah. So Julian, you do most of your manufacturing where again? Can you remind the audience?
For this technology, it's in Florence, Italy, and in Massa, which is very close to Florence. We have plants, another 5 plants in Italy, manufacturing similar components, which could be used also. And we have a really very, very large service presence in the US, based out of Houston as well. The service people in Houston would be the people that would use to provide services to Aalo.
Do you have, what would it take to bring some of the manufacturing from, here in the United States?
Confidence.
Confidence. Okay, great answer.
Confidence comes from the type of relationship that we have, and that's why it's important. The openness and the forecast, the openness about the funnel. And the opportunities that will actually support the first gigawatt factory.
Amazing.
My job is to route that confidence into the business, which it would help. It helps when yourselves, John or Matt, for example, attend the Baker Hughes annual meeting, where you get to effectively sit down with people above my pay grade, anyway. To talk about and to transfer that and translate that confidence to them, it helps my job then in pushing to scale the actual footprint in accordance with our LRP, because your growth is also part of our, it's already factored as part of our LRP planning.
Okay, amazing. Well,
that Florence facility is fantastic. I highly recommend everybody visit it.
Yeah.
You also like the steaks as well.
Beautiful city, by the way. I got a chance to visit their facility, and it was amazing. Yeah. So again, I think John said it beautifully that the level of manufacturing proportion we're thinking about with the gigawatt factory is something that the nuclear industry has not seen before, right? I think the one single company building many reactors the highest number was 52 in France. One single company built 52 reactors. That was the highest. And if we get to a point where we deploy the gigawatt factory, it's going to be at a scale that no nuclear has seen before. So we're really grateful and thankful to have all the amazing partners and suppliers next to us. And so we're looking forward to work with you all. So ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for our speakers. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right, now time for the moment you all have been waiting for. It's the big unveil.
So yeah, thank you all so much for coming out today. This was a great event. I want to give a huge shout out to the Aalo team. There's been an immense amount of work that's happened in the past 8 or 9 months. Usually, Yasir and I have been having like 16 half-hour meetings a day, and then like a few hours of emailing. It's 8 or 9 p.m., and the factory is still buzzing. So people are working very hard at Aalo to pull this off. And so, yeah, we're very excited to show you what we've been doing for the past 8 or 9 months.
And as you all know, real factories ship products. And we want to give you a little glimpse of what that looks like in our factory. right, you guys want to check out these modules?
Let's get up and let's look over to our left.
Let's check it out in person.
And cue the music.